Alright, what you just saw weren't perfect sword techniques. Those hits didn't land because I swung faster or because my technique was prettier. They were won with footwork. And that's what this video is really about. It's not about how to hold your sword, how to cut with it, or in which guard you should start. Today I want to break down how you move. Because in a real fight, that's where the win begins. Let's start with one of the most misunderstood things in historical fencing, the lunge. The lunge should always start with your hands, with not your legs, with not your body, with your hands. The hand, the sword hand, should lead the whole movement. The moment your sword hand moves forward, it should initiate everything else. The hand leads the movement, it leads your weight forward with hips and with your core, and it requires your opponent to react to something real that is not just a preparational step. Then you kick out your front foot, and that word matters, kick. It's not a lazy reach. You drive your front foot forward, slightly upwards and forward, landing on the whole foot that points directly at your opponent. That gives you balance, but your balance should be supported by your knees, by your hips, and by your core to keep your back straight upwards. And your back leg doesn't just easily push you over. When it extends, it drives you forward explosively. Just like with the fencing step, you can modify the length of your lunge. It can be farther, it can be shorter. Of course, it requires you to know when to use the first one or the second one. Here's a really short lunge. And here's the longest lunge I can do personally, but it's risky because you can lose your balance. A top performing lunge connects your sword to your opponent just milliseconds before your front foot lands. That's when the lunge feels like a gunshot. It's fast, it's smooth, and it's very unpredictable. If you can record yourself when you're sparring or just solo drilling, then please watch out for the most common mistake known to any fencer. Your sword comes after the movement of your footwork. If you're doing this, you're sending an email to your opponent saying, "Hey, I'm about to lunge at you." Stop that. You have to keep in mind to always lead with your sword and then follow up with your foot. And after that, you'll notice how unpredictable you get in the fighting. Now, there's where most people mess up. They think that training faster will get them faster results, but training faster without the foundation will just multiply your mistakes. If your hips are unstable, if your core is disconnected, if you're falling out of every lunge, or you're leaning to the side when you land on your front foot, then going faster just makes it worse. You have to train with smoothness in your mind, without going faster, without any chaos. That's what smooth lunge looks like. At the beginning, think about starting the movement only with your hands and end it right there at the contact with your opponent. Then kick out your front foot forward and push out with your back leg. So just like this. And remember to always, please, land wholly on your front foot, and it should point towards your opponent. It shouldn't point to the sides, because you will lose your balance with your hips that should control and support your balance. The right tension is built through smoothness and slow training. You want to be stiff at the right moment, not before you make a lunge, but when you start it and when you finish it. Of course, you have to balance out every part of your body. And if you're serious about correcting those bad habits and finally get your footwork to work with you instead of against you, then check the school community. Inside of it, I go deeper on this stuff. I post breakdowns, I give personalized feedback, and I post weekly movement drills that will help you down the line. But most importantly, you don't have to do it all alone. There's a community of guys that are on the same path of the sword as you, all beginners, and the accountability from them is just the thing you probably need. Come check the link down below in the description or in the comments. But before we start a drill, I should mention to you how to properly do a lunge sequence, even without a sword in your hands. So, get in your fencing position. If you're right-handed, if your main hand is the right one, then face it towards your imaginary opponent and place your palm of the hand upwards before you. And of course your backhand or the left hand, place it around here. So just like the place where you would grip the sword at the end. And to do the proper lunge, you start with your hands and you kick out your foot forward and push out with your back one. So one more time, do it with me, drill this. Focus solely on starting the movement with your hands. I can't stress this enough. When your hands straighten up, it's around the moment where there is a contact with your opponent. One more time. Lunge. Once again. Lunge. Okay. Relax your body a bit. Let's take another step. Now we're going to actually train this together. And that's where it starts to click. If you remember from the last video, we're going to use our fencing step pattern in this drill. But of course we will link it with our lunge. So when I take one fencing step forward, you take one fencing step back. When I take one fencing step back, you take one fencing step forward to keep the same distance to me. Of course, in theory. And when I clap with both hands once, you take a proper lunge. And it's not about a speed game. And it's not about overreacting. You have to build a proper reflex and a proper foundation that will help you later on. It creates the ability to react properly without the tension of the sparring right now. That's what this drill is all about. Train this slowly at first. Teach your mind to respond correctly with your body, with clean movements first, without any panic. Because if you're trying to do all of this with the perfect reflexes, you don't have perfect reflexes, by the way, you will create a really bad foundation and you'll always overreact to any kind of movement of your opponent. That will lead to you panicking and exactly to losing. So for this drill you don't even have to have a sword in your hands, but keep your main head pointed forward with the palm facing upwards. Fencing step forward. Fencing step back. Fencing step back. Fencing step forward. Fencing step forward. Forward. Back. Forward. And back. Forward. That's where you should do a lunge. So, once again, relax. Get into your fencing position. Okay, let's start. I advance. I retreat. I retreat. I advance. I advance. And I retreat. Lunge. Okay, one more time. Relax your knees and hips. Okay, get into your fencing position. I advance. I retreat. I retreat. I advance. I advance. I retreat. I advance. I retreat. One more time. I advance. I retreat. I advance. I advance. I retreat. I retreat. I retreat. I advance. The worst thing you can do right now is to go full speed right away. That creates very sloppy habits and it will be very hard later to unlearn it. That's why you have to focus on the control and speed tomorrow. Do this drill around 3 to 4 times a week for around 10 minutes max. It'll start to rewire your brain and your focus to how to keep the proper distance in your fight. I want to tell you something about my coach, who is Antonio Albryski, who happens to be the #1 steel longsword fencer and saber in the world. He's pretty much... But when I managed to spar with him, he always voided my attacks. He didn't even block it. But here's the thing, he was never truly out. He managed to keep the dangerous distance between us, and that kept me under pressure. And when I studied his tournament exchanges, the real top level him about, I noticed something clear. He wins solely by advanced footwork and with simple sword actions. He always manages to move with precision, with calculated precision, always with purpose. His every step doesn't feel off. It's natural instinct that he created by those 10 years of training. But I know for sure it wasn't easy for him, for us, for all of us. Training footwork is not easy, but it's required of every fencer to do it right. So here's the quick, easy task for you right now. Go search the top tournament, HEMA tournaments with longsword. Mute the sound and don't watch the swords. Focus solely on footwork and see who's winning by their footwork alone, without any compound or advanced sword actions. So, my final message to you is that footwork is not just a warm-up. It's not an accessory to your technique. It is the technique. You don't get to land perfect hits if your footwork doesn't get you there. You can't stay safe if your foot don't help you out to move out of the way. Every time I manage to land a perfect hit, it's because my intentions started in footwork. And every time I got hit, It's because my feet were lazy and or off balance. Train your footwork like your fights depend on it, because they really do. And if you want to go deeper, as I mentioned earlier, I created a safe space community for guys who want to teach themselves a true path of the sword and get rid of their video game addiction. And remember, always take the initiative.